Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbies and Kens, Chelseas of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have my wonderful co-host. That is not how you dance. In this podcast, I make the rules. John.
Well, maybe I want to freestyle.
For those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies. Every week we watch one of the straight-to-DVD animated Barbie movies and we rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. This week we will be talking about the 33rd animated Barbie movie, Barbie Starlight Adventure. And with us to talk about it, a returning guest who also happens to be a huge Star Trek fan is my sister, Sarah.
Hello.
Which Star Trek do you prefer?
Oh, all of them. I just finished watching Strange New Worlds. That was great. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
You have seen how many? You've seen the original series. You've seen
I've seen Next Generation.
Yep.
I've seen Picard. I've seen Strange New Worlds. I'm
Deep
starting
Space
to watch
Nine.
Voyager. I've seen Deep Space Nine. So yeah,
A lot
all
more
the
than
movies.
me. I started years ago.
Well, she did too. She's been watching it for quite a while.
I watched like 2 episodes a year, maybe.
Well, that might explain why you haven't gotten nearly as far.
Yeah, it's more like one of those casual watches. It's like, you know what? I'm going to continue Star Trek today.
Yeah, I found out because when I was in high school, Sarah every day after school would, with my mom, watch an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. And I would be like doing my homework on the couch, or I'd be laying there, and most of the time I would like take a nap because, you know, high school saps all your energy. So I was trying to sit down and watch an episode of Deep Space Nine that Sarah really wanted to show me. And about 40 minutes in, I wake up and I'm like, what's going on? So it turns out I have a Pavlovian response to Star Trek where I just now fall asleep during Star Trek episodes. Doesn't matter how engaging it is. I just fall asleep partway through every Star Trek episode.
At that time, I was probably just watching some original series stuff on and off. Then again, to Next Generation till university, and I'm still on Next Generation. But no, I enjoy the show casually.
Yeah.
On to Barbie.
Yeah, this is the episode to talk a bit about Star Trek because this is the big sci-fi space adventure Barbie movie.
I mean, Star Trek is really only 5 minutes of this film.
Yeah, there's a lot of influences, but this was released on July 30, 2016. Actually released in theaters through Fathom Events.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this is one of those that I would be like, oh, I kind of wish I had gotten to see it in theaters. Like, this would have been fun on the big screen.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have been airing where we were.
Yeah. I mean, where was I? July 30th. Anyway, it was directed by Andrew Tan, who also directed Great Puppy Adventure, and written by Casey Arnold. There's also additional writing credited to Kate Boutillier, who she also worked on a bunch of other kids' cartoons, and then also the Barbie Dreamtopia series, which I don't ever see discussed. There are like short episodes on some of the DVDs, and I watched one, and it is weird. Like, Chelsea's hair hops off her head and runs away because Chelsea offended her own hair.
Interesting. I've been watching Barbie Life in the Dream House. It's a fantastic show. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I feel like we'll have to discuss later whether we need. We'll to
discuss
talk about
this
that
later.
But yeah, she also wrote stuff for Rugrats and Wild Thornberrys. So, And Casey Arnold has been working on several of these Barbie movies and will continue to work on several more. We also have production design by Alexandra Kavalova. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any of the concept art for this movie
Ugh.
but the thing with this movie's animation, which we'll get into, is I wouldn't be surprised if the backgrounds look almost identical to the concept art because there's just so much detail put into everything.
Mm-hmm.
We also have music by Toby Chu. This is his only Barbie movie, but he's also worked on True Lies, the series Beyond, and also the Oscar-winning short film Bow, which I forget. It's a Pixar short. It played in
Yeah.
front of some big Pixar movie.
It's the one with the little dumpling, isn't it?
Yeah, it came out 2018. So which Pixar movie would that have been?
I don't know.
Post Coco?
Kanto?
No,
No.
that's
Last
Disney. Yeah, it is interesting. The director of that short went on to make Turning Red. So, but the composer, she did not bring the composer along, although he has quite a few. Incredibles 2. Okay, that's why played in front of Incredibles 2.
Hmm.
Sarah, you saw Incredibles 2 in theaters. Do you
Yeah.
remember that short at all?
Yeah, I remember it. I liked it.
Yeah. Do you remember the music?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember the music from the short.
It's the same guy.
Yeah. He was also, and this is just kind of a cool credit, he was one of the music arrangers on Tron Legacy, which is maybe one of my favorite soundtracks, like top 1 or 2, maybe 3.
It is a good soundtrack.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of a cool credit to have here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have original songs by Jordan Kane and also, I forgot to write their names here. The Math Club. We talked about them more in next week's episode, so I'm not going to get into all of that here.
You mean we will talk about it in next week's
yes.
episode? What are you talking about next week? We haven't done that yet.
No, we totally haven't recorded next week's episode yesterday.
Mm.
But we will talk more about them. They are a company that does like a lot of music for a lot of movies and TV shows and commercials.
Mm-hmm.
So if the music in this movie sounds different than other Barbie musicals, that might be partially why. But yeah, the story follows Barbie. This is just Barbie. No.
Space Barbie.
Yeah, Space Barbie lives with her father on a nature preserve on a planet that is probably Earth, considering it has the same continents as Earth.
Mm.
And a lot of animals that look very similar to Earth animals. But anyway,
the planet's name is something else.
Yeah, the it's when they're flying away that it's like you see North America and South America.
Hey, it's like Star Trek, where every planet they visit is Earth, but a different shade.
And a time period as well, yeah.
Yep.
And every alien species is vaguely humanoid.
Yep.
But yeah, Barbie lives on this nature preserve, and she is incredibly skilled with a hoverboard and also has the power of telekinesis through music.
Yes.
So kind of reminded me a bit of Out of the Silent Planet, sort of the idea of the stars being alive with music, which comes into play later. But one day she gets a message from King Constantine, and the stars are falling out of alignment and disappearing. And there's this big prophecy that someday the hero, will come along and save the galaxy. So he thinks he's that hero, and he is assembling a team to help him get to the center of the galaxy. And the king wants Barbie on this team because of her skill as a hoverboarder. So Barbie travels to the capital planet and she meets the rest of the team. And King Constantine, he's a very stern rule follower and very much orderly, and everything has to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only dance to Nutcracker music. And so he's not pleased at all with Barbie's sort of free spirited nature, and Barbie's late to everything in this movie.
Yeah.
Classic chosen one trait.
Always late.
Yep. That's very much reminded me of Legend of Zelda with Link. Anyway, the team train together and they get to know each other a bit, but before their mission, Constantine sends them to capture a creature called a Starlian, a weird dragon with a human face, human baby face.
Yeah.
And he is very vague about the reasons he needs the creature, and so Barbie starts to suspect that he may be planning on adding it to his personal zoo. So when the team successfully captures the Starlian, Barbie feels bad and sets it free. Now, Constantine is not happy with this because he reveals that they actually needed it to lead them to the center of the galaxy. So,
Well, just look. It's the middle. Let's go there.
well, yeah, there's a magical reason they need
See,
it.
when you
but-
reach a black hole, you're at the center.
Yeah, though this galaxy is structured a bit differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, King Constantine cuts Barbie from the team and tries to come up with a different solution. But Barbie is getting ready to go home when she realizes that instead of capturing the Starlian, they could just ask it for help.
Mhm.
So she uses her magic force music powers to communicate with it and goes to the king and is like, hey, I got your thing for you. So the team all get together, they go on their big mission, and they successfully enter the heart of the galaxy. And Constantine uses his device, which is called a statatron, that like neatly orders the entire galaxy in like a three-dimensional grid.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than fix the issues, it just makes everything so much worse, and the stars like scatter all over the place and disappear. And yeah, Barbie though picks up a star and hears music inside it, and that's when she kind of starts to use her telekinetic music powers. It's a weird room with like representations of the stars hanging all over the place. So when she uses her music to get all of these representations of the stars dancing again, then the actual stars start appearing again. And then yeah, Constantine realizes that he was wrong and awards Barbie the title of Princess Starlight.
Yep.
So yeah, straightforward plot maybe.
Straightforward. This is a very complicated plot.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is a Barbie movie without a clear villain.
Mhm.
Like King Constantine is like an antagonist, but not a villain.
No.
Yes. I do think, like, the room, I was like, well, that can't be used for harm anywhere. You know, you can't have. No, totally not going to get a villain going in there and destroying all the little representations of the stars that actually influence the real stars, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's oddly metaphor or like abstract for a Barbie movie, that sort of this room that is a representation of the stars, and then you see the music playing out and gets almost like 2001 A Space Odyssey.
It's also
It's
like
sort of like-
Mariposa when she goes into that room.
Yeah,
with all the
yeah,
stars.
it's a very similar, even sort of the journey that they take to get to that point through like a cave. And yeah, and this is an interesting fusion of sci-fi and fantasy. It's almost at times like a fairy tale set in space.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's uniquely Barbie, a uniquely Barbie view of sci-fi.
That has a lot of the sci-fi elements, like a space monarchy,
Yeah.
alien planet with all these weird alien stuff,
Yeah, it,
a
it
desert
reminded
planet.
me it reminded me oddly enough of a movie that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think it's a worse rap than it deserves. And that's Jupiter Ascending, which is also sort of this like sci-fi story, but taking it from a very like fantasy perspective. Like, what if
Mm-hmm.
the Wizard of Oz were sci-fi? What if the protagonist was this woman who's like going through this strange world and meeting all of these weird characters? Now,
Mm-hmm.
I think Barbie Starlight Adventure is more successful than Jupiter Ascending, um, but it reminded me of the best elements of that and sort of a less masculine view of science fiction
Mm-hmm.
with a bigger
I.
emphasis on like beauty.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wish this film was much longer than it was, by maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Because
so
yeah,
something to flesh out.
oh yeah, because I think that the story that they're wanting to go with, just the scale is so grand for their time they're given. I was looking at the time, and because I liked looking at times apparently,
Yeah.
without the narration, the very vague narration in the beginning, we have no clue what's going on until 30 minutes into the film. We just have all
Oh,
these characters come together and we're just introducing to each other.
yeah.
Makes me wonder if the narration was like a last minute addition because it's just odd.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, but like these type of slow beginning works for a much longer film.
Yeah.
But because of just how short this film was, I felt that it took way too long to get to that point, and the ending was just way too quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it would also make like moments of them catching the starling work better. That could take longer. It's like, oh, they had to actually look for the starling instead of they just stumble upon it. Uh, things don't work out so quickly. I
Yeah.
just by the time we got to the end, I was feeling like, oh no, they probably realized what time it was and had to quickly solve things. And it was like, no, no, please make it longer. I know it costs money, but your story is so ambitious. Please.
Yeah, it is a very ambitious story. I'm interested, Sarah, to hear you talk a bit about this because I know you like this a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just really like them. I think I like the fantasy sci-fi thing where it's not 100% fantasy, but it's not 100% sci-fi. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of sci-fi and none of them really try to do that fantasy element. I mean, some of them do, but they're not really as successful at really making it feel like that. That it is
Yeah,
also fantasy
yeah, because
in
Star
there.
Wars has like fantasy elements, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fantasy in a different way. It's like, um,
It's a mixture of so many genres.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know, not a darker fantasy, but
It's a
like,
space opera
yeah,
versus
Mm-hmm.
this
an
is
actual fantasy adventure.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were you gonna say something
I
else?
also like how it has all these elements of other movies and things, but it still feels like its own thing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of new, especially new modern science fiction, it's just like, oh, references to this and references to that and more references to this, and it just they don't try to make it their own thing. Whereas this, you get all those references, but it still feels like its own thing.
Yeah, it's like it's taking all of these elements to build a new world than just we're being a carbon copy of something else. It's pretty much what anime is. Just copying so many elements to the point where it's brand new.
Yep. Yeah, I caught elements of Star Wars and Star Trek, Avatar. Um,
Yeah.
oh, there was one I was thinking of that I
Dune.
That treasure
Dune,
When
planet.
they
a
got on the
tiny bit of
planet
Dune.
Jacob yelled out, "It's Dune!"
Yeah, the desert planet is a bit Dune, and also sort of the way it's questioning the chosen one trope
Mm-hmm.
is, although Dune goes much further. I even saw elements of a sort of cult sci-fi favorite, Sunshine, which that one is all about a group of people going to the sun to reignite the sun because the sun is starting to fade. So this one is all about a group of people going to get the stars dancing again.
Mm-hmm.
Sunshine is much darker though than this movie.
Oh yeah, so much darker.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, you said you were going to find a Star Trek episode to compare this to.
Oh, I couldn't.
You couldn't?
There was a few parts where when she's standing in the square and she gets put into her place or whatever, when they say, "Oh, we have to go get everybody," I was automatically thinking, "Beam me up, Scotty." Just
Yeah, they do have like the teleportation devices.
And then I really liked, they had a scene where they were coming out when they first have to go. I think it was to get the Starlight, or they're going out to the center of the planet, and they say, "Warp out of here." And it reminded me of a time in Star Trek. It was in the Undiscovered Country, the movie, and Kirk says, "Okay, let's get out of here on thrusters," and the lieutenant turns to him and says, "Regulations specify thrusters only in space dock." And I was thinking of that line from, like, yeah, Barbie would definitely be like Kirk in the way where she would not follow the regulations. She'd be like, "Let's get out of here as fast as we can. I don't care."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is honestly that kind of stuff. The sort of Barbie leading a crew of other people around makes me wish that there was a sequel to this,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like Barbie and her friends going across the galaxy and solving problems. Like that would be fun.
Yeah. We did see they get the people who, they have their engineering officer, and then they have their captain, he's Barbie, and they have their main flight pilot guy. I mean, they didn't have the doctor, but it did feel very Star Trek-y
Their
in that
communications
way.
officer.
Yeah, in the way of, they have the officers who kind of have their own little roles to play
Yeah.
on the ship, but they still all work together.
I also kind of feel that we could have used more of the team than just having them capture the Starlian.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
Something
they
like
go
that.
through all of this training, go through all of these exercises, and we don't really see a whole lot of that being utilized in the end. It's done very
Mhm.
quickly. And even by the end, Constantine does a lot of the stuff himself when they go to the center of the galaxy. So why does
Yeah.
he recruit all these people for? What's so important about them? And this is where I think like adding the length of time would means like, oh no, their mission is longer, thus all the time we spend training is worth it. I think this film
Yeah.
does a better job with the training than Spy Squad does in terms of setting it up and then actually doing it. But I still think that a longer run time would make this
Yeah.
mwah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I do. I like how character focused it is in that, but yeah, more time gives you more character depth.
Mm-hmm. And allows characters to use more of their skills
Yeah,
as presented. Like, I really wish we got to see more of the speedster do speedster stuff.
yeah,
Mhm.
because that's almost superfluous to the story
I
at a
know.
certain point.
Doesn't do anything. She's just fast, but she never uses her speed on her hoverboard.
Yeah, and they introduced the idea of her being like, because that's Sally, who is sort of this legendary hoverboarder, and they introduce this idea of like she's constantly moving in a way where like no one's with her, so she feels lonely, so she's looking for friends.
Mhm.
But there isn't necessarily a clear payoff to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just kind of like a scene.
Mhm.
And then like the gravity twins, they just kind of have gravity powers. There's not much else going on with them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
The prince,
it's gravity powers. It's like,
yeah.
come on, that's cool.
Yeah. And it is cool how they use it. It's just like, yeah.
They didn't have much of a threat to use it against.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, I thought it was a great story. I liked kind of it, but I did feel like they needed more time to do it.
Yeah. That is, I would agree with that. So I gave it a 4.25 out of 5, which that specificity in the rating is, I don't know, it's not quite a 4.5, but it's not quite a 4. I like I like how it's inventive both as a Barbie movie and as a sci-fi movie, where they're finding a conflict that isn't, there isn't a villain here. And the resolution to the conflict isn't a big fight, it's a sort of weird, abstract 2001 A Space Odyssey, but make it Barbie
Mm-hmm.
moment. Though not
Mhm.
as in make it Barbie as in the Barbie trailer, make it Barbie as in Barbie dancing with a bunch of stars.
Mhm.
Yeah, I gave the story a 3.5, which seems kind of low, but I feel like this film was too ambitious for the runtime it was supposed to have. Plus, just how the narration at the beginning at the end just doesn't really flow too well with the story. And uh, I guess the musical moments might have taken away from the time as well, but they're not too distracting.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
something I did forget to mention with story is there are some very odd editing moments and editing choices where I think there's a bit of, to get the runtime down, I think they cut out some connective tissue between scenes, especially in the first half,
Mhm.
where there's just some awkward lead ins or dialogue that isn't quite given enough room.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
it was pretty good overall, but it wasn't the best.
yeah. Personally, I'd rather have too ambitious for the runtime than not ambitious enough,
Mhm.
like next week's movie, which we have no way of knowing what that would be.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, too ambitious for the runtime is good, but you still want them to have all the
Yeah,
runtime they need for their ambition.
Mhm.
yeah. Now, onto the characters. First, we have Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked her. She very much reminded me of, if we go back to Star Trek, the kind of ambitious captain who's seems a little bit young to be in the role and just wants to explore and be out there and does all these crazy things that everybody else around him is like, why would you ever do that? That's dumb. But somehow works out. So, you know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because her traits here are the kindness and the cleverness and the bravery that we've always seen. But this film specifically calls out leadership skills as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that you even mentioned that she's like, yeah, she's the captain here.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one leading the group. And then yeah, she's just constantly late for everything. That's the other thing about her.
Yeah, I also like that she's the fish out of water when she comes to the kingdom. She doesn't really know what anything is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And not in a way that makes her seem out of touch, just in sort of like a, she's seeing things for the first time.
You know, because when I moved to the States, like vending machines, oh my gosh, These are just the best thing in the world. Vending machines. Whoa.
Like food tubes where you say if you
Free
want green,
refills.
blue, or red.
What amazing technology.
Yeah, the tech in this is interesting. Well, we'll get into that in a sec.
We will.
But yeah, next up we have Sal Lee. That is not Sally as in Sally. That is Sal Lee as in SAL-LEE.
It's a space name.
It is a space name. I find it so odd that it is so similar to a not space name. Like, imagine if Barbie was BAHRBEE.
I'm kind of thinking that Sally isn't supposed to be a human though, whereas Barbie is.
Yeah, that's true.
Cause like I mean I know she looks human, but like
She's orange.
she's orange, yeah, and she kind of does it with her speed thing.
Yeah.
She kind of doesn't, yeah, and also she talks about moving around a lot, so it just makes me seem like maybe she's not human. Maybe she's supposed to be an alien. So
I was really
Yeah.
excited when we learned that she was a speedster. I was like, yeah, cool. We're going to see some cool stuff. And then the first thing we see during the training, she rides the hoverboard and she's about to crash into the thing, and Barbie has to save her. But the thing is, for a speedster, everything slows down. So the reaction time is so much quicker. I don't know how she would have been in trouble. It's like
Yeah.
the CW Flash being always forgetting to run.
Yeah, the speedster thing seems like a character trait more than a power that is used in this plot.
I'm used to it at this point. Nobody knows how to do speedsters right. They're always too slow.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when she was introduced, there's almost like a tension between her and Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting them to do the classic thing of like, oh, she's the bully who gets redeemed. But they
then they
don't go in that
quickly
direction.
turned that around.
Yeah.
In like 2 sentences.
Yeah. And part of me is like, okay, good. We don't need to see another one of those arcs. Part of me is like, there's a bit of missing conflict in the training stuff. Like the moment where Sally recognizes that Barbie is a better leader than her, how much better does that hit if they start out on the wrong foot?
Mm-hmm. Much of the conflict is that Constantine doesn't really like Barbie that much.
Yeah. He's the Raquel here.
I think another conflict is Sally is always used to winning.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't. So she gets into that thing where Barbie is initially thinking, okay, we should work together, whereas Sally is initially thinking, oh, I need to win. And that kind of conflict there of do we work together or do we compete? And so I kind of liked that where Sally was like, I just am going to go win because I always win everything, so I'm going to go win this.
Yeah.
And Barbie is like, the only way to get past this is if we work together, and neither of us win.
Yeah. Which is, interestingly enough, like the lesson that they're supposed to learn from this. Yeah, I liked her character. Again, as Jod has been saying, like, more time would have given us more space to explore her as a character.
Yeah, especially on missions.
Yeah. Now, next up we have Prince Leo. We always love Ken characters here.
Mm-hmm.
He's awkward, but slightly more confident than he was in Spy Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't a ton to say about his character.
No, he's often
I
very
do,
much sidelined.
yeah. I do like that they don't lean much into the potential romance.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Sal Lee arguably has the stronger connection with Barbie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
arguably. Leo, he's a pilot, but I don't. Is he the pilot?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think we really saw much of his piloting skills, especially during the training. He's
Yeah.
like, "Yep, you're just gonna sit in the sideline there, Leo." So he's just
Fight,
kind of
fight Barbie
forgotten.
and then sit on the sideline.
Yep, good job.
I could definitely see him being used because it's kind of implied that he knows a lot about piloting the ship and being on the ship. And so maybe if there was like a conflict when they were flying, something breaks on the ship and they break an engine and he has to go fly with one engine or he has to go do something else. I think just a little scene like that would have
Or they run
made his
into a
character so
space
much more.
dragon and get into a chase. And he
What do
has
you
to,
mean? They already have the space dragon with the
but
baby
an evil
face.
space dragon. I don't know. A rock is following them, and they have to escape the rock. I don't know.
They could do the Star Trek trope of the something breaks and the captain tells the engineer, "How long will it take to fix this?" "Oh, an hour." "Well, you have 10 minutes," and somehow they get it done in 10 minutes.
Nine
They could
minutes
do
and
that.
59 seconds.
Mhm.
After that trope has got a lot, I've kind of started to think that the engineers just overestimate how long it's going to take because they know that the captain's just going to be like, "Nope, you have less time." So they're like, "Oh, we better just overestimate anyway."
Isn't that something in the first Alien movie? Am I making this up, John? Where there's
No.
like a line where the engineers are in the bottom of the ship and they're like, "Oh yeah, we said it's going to take 24 hours, but it's really going to take 12, but we just wanted some extra time alone with no one bothering us."
And
Maybe
it's
that was a
also
Star
like,
Trek thing.
That might have been a Star Trek thing as well.
Yeah. It
but
was some
it's
sci-fi
no,
property I
no.
was watching
Alien does have
recently.
a scene where the repair guy is like, "It's gonna take longer." Then Ripley is like, "We'll do it quicker." And they're like, "What do you think we're doing?" It's like, "We're paid by the hour. Of course, something.
Yeah.
We're not appreciated for all our work. We want our bonuses."
So I am not going crazy. That is something that has happened in
Yeah, no,
one
yeah,
of these things.
They all just start to blend together.
Yep.
space tropes.
That's something that I think they should have done a bit more. I feel like is leaned into more of those sci-fi tropes, kind of. I mean, they
Ah,
do that a little bit, but maybe add a few more in there, just for fun. Make fun of some of them.
With the
maybe, but
extended
then I'd be
runtime
kind of like,
especially.
it's just a
Yeah.
reference.
So yeah, next up we have Sheena and Karina.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts
They
on
got
them?
the gravity powers. That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have tele. They can read each.
Telekinesis.
Yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think they have a few good moments.
Mm-hmm.
Them being twins and the way that is played with. But yeah, there's not much space for them to be all that interesting as characters. They're just kind of there.
I mean, the training was interesting for them because they were separated, and so they had to
Yeah.
learn to utilize their powers. But then we don't really get to see the payoff of them fully
Mm-hmm.
accepting being alone with their powers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of those things where like I think the movie just has other things it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, next up we have King Constantine, who's
Yeah.
maybe the most complex character here. And that he thinks he's the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And he unlike some characters who think they're the hero like Gaston and Beauty and the Beast, King Constantine actually has good motivations here. He
Yeah.
just misunderstands his place in the story.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how when he realizes that he was wrong, he doesn't throw a fit. He's just
Yeah.
bummed out and walks
Mhm.
away to contemplate it versus yelling at Barbie for being everything.
Yeah.
I really like when we first see him because of the way his character is designed. He very much looks like a villain. But then, like, as we go on, he keeps he still seems like the villain in the way he's dressed, but that it kind of changes. And I
A
really
villain
like
in that
that.
space monarchy thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and even when he realizes he's wrong, he doesn't say, like, I was wrong about everything. He's like, well, I guess Barbie was right about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just like, okay, now I am against order.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he even says something like, there's a place for order and there's a place for not being orderly.
Yeah.
And he recognizes that. And I think Barbie also too recognizes it. Like, yeah, sometimes we need the rules, but then sometimes we don't need the rules, and we should just go based on instinct, I guess. Impulse. So yeah,
Mhm.
I liked that about him. He realizes that. And just that one line too was like when he says, "Yeah, there's a place to not be orderly." Was just like, I think that really shows his character growth very well there. In that one little line.
Yeah.
From when he starts the "I make the rules here and you can't disobey them" to, hey, maybe we don't need to always follow the rules.
No, the character really grew on me throughout the film. He also just
Yeah.
has a really cool design.
Yeah, I do like the design with the sort of like constellation type patterns on his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't have much to say about Barbie's dad other than that I like his design. There were many
That's
comments
cool.
on Letterboxd about Barbie's dad's design here.
I noticed,
Though
yeah.
though we'll get into the issues of the character models. And then yeah, the last character I have here is Popcorn,
Mm-hmm.
who's
There,
a bit of
there.
a bibble. He isn't as annoying as Bibble can be and has less of a role in the story.
And they turned into a cat, which is better.
Yeah,
Kind of.
sure.
Instead of being like a weird, ugly fluff ball, they're into a thing that we can all recognize as cute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. The
Kind
cat
of.
design is questionable, but sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
What just
Popcorn.
what a weird name for a species, popcorn.
Yeah, here's the thing though. It's like, who comes up with this idea? It's so weird and imaginative that
It works. It's like
I don't know if
aliens.
it
Sure.
works,
It
but
works for me.
I respect the swing, even if I don't think it quite.
Also, why? Because the species is named Popcorn, and then Barbie names her Popcorn. And it just seems weird, because it would be like if I bought a dog and I'm like, okay, this is my dog, his name is Dog. Like,
I
it's
mean,
just,
we have friends who have a dog named Doggy.
yeah. But it seemed wrong to me
Come here,
to do
cat.
that.
Dog. I mean, it's a fine name. You're calling them what they are. Human. Human. Meatbag.
Yeah. Overall, I gave the characters a 2 Sorry, a
What?
4.25 out of 5.
That was an odd moment.
Again, just like with the story, it's like 4 seems too low and 4.5 seems too high, so I'm just aiming for the middle.
Yeah, I gave the characters a 4. I thought that I liked the individual characters. I liked their powers. I kind of wish we had more time with them, though.
I gave them a 4.5.
So yeah, next up we have the animation. And I want to get the bad out of the way so we can talk about the good.
Mm-hmm.
The character models are mostly fine, but this is an ARC Productions movie, and that means that the teeth are very, very bad.
Yeah. Also, their idea of aliens is just different color skin.
Yup.
Very Star Trek.
Anytime anyone opens their mouth, it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot.
I mean, it wasn't so bad as other films, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Now, onto the good.
yeah.
Everything looks incredible.
Oh yeah.
Like, the design
Mm-hmm.
is spectacular. It's very inventive. There's like weird creatures, and like sometimes the creatures look, yeah, but they're still like inventive and creative.
Well, the Starlian is
Yeah, the Starlian
more.
is like the
It's more toyetic than it should be.
oh yeah, and popcorn to a certain extent. But all
Yeah.
of the other creatures are like weird and interesting and odd.
Mhm.
And the ship designs, those are really cool as well. Like the main ship they use.
The
Mhm.
music note.
Yep. And like the costumes as well.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I had a point to make out with Barbie's costumes in the beginning because
Yes.
I was really questioning the choice of like the reflective material.
Uh-huh.
But then I started thinking back. That's like the same material of some of the first spacesuits that they had. It was that
Yeah.
type of reflective material. It's like, oh, neat detail.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, to like that does make sense to.
Mhm.
And she has like a cool little earpiece thing
Mm-hmm.
in the first part of the movie. And then like we talked a bit about King Constantine's outfit, but that's also cool. And then like even their team outfits at the end are cool
Mm-hmm.
when they're all
Yeah.
dressed in the same thing.
I really enjoyed that Barbie didn't get the transformation thing at the end. It looked like we were gonna get that. Oh, Barbie changes her clothes because she saved the world, and that
We
didn't
Only
do
for like
actually
actually get
2
it.
happen.
seconds.
We get it, but then it goes back to normal, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
yeah.
thank you, because it makes way more sense.
Why does it need to be a dress when she sings? I don't know.
Because it looks better.
Sure, you gotta sell their toy.
Yeah. The backgrounds are so good. Like easily the best we've seen in the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of which movie would even come close to this.
There've been a few, but this one just stands above the rest.
Yeah.
It's space. You
Yeah.
can't go wrong with space. Space is so beautiful.
And it's not just that it's space, it's that they put in so much effort to make it look good, and like the colors,
Mm-hmm.
they go for like this blues and pinks and purples, and
Mhm.
like it's not the type of depiction of space you usually see in sci-fi movies.
Mhm.
And you have like the capital city looks so cool. Oh wait, I have that further down in my notes. We start on Paraden, which is basically Pandora from Avatar,
Yeah.
Yep.
except it's Earth. And yeah, my interpretation of it is that the creatures look because there's like parrot type creatures and giraffe type creatures. And so I was kind of interpreting that as like Paraden is future Earth.
Mm. Mhm.
And then yeah, we go to the capital planet next, which is a really cool like a futuristic city emerging from like a nebula,
Mhm.
and it just looks so cool.
Although I'm not a big fan of too clean looking space
Yeah.
adventures because I don't know. I like lived in stuff.
I like both. This one worked for me with the rest of the sort of design and the movie's sort of optimistic outlook.
Mhm.
Yeah, but just a lot of space monarchies have just been this very clean and spotless
Yeah.
design
It
that's
kind of
not
makes sense with
too interesting.
King Constantine's character, though, because I can imagine him saying, any little spot of dust you leave, you're going to get fired for, you know? So I think it really would. I don't know if they meant for it to show his character, but I do think it kind of shows where he wants everything to be perfect and orderly.
Yeah, but like the design, the reason why I say it's like too clean is because it's just generic futuristic space, what we think it is. I think what would make it better is if you base it on some sort of culture or reality
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
to make it look distinct than just it's
Yeah.
generic space. Like example that might not make as much sense, but Fallout. The Fallout games are like it's the future, but it looks like the 50s. Or
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, a lot of the planets represent different uh, cultures.
Yeah.
Uh, so something like that, where you take a design of a culture and make that what it looks like in the future, instead of just like, oh, it's just basic shape, smooth looking shape, looks weird, alien, and
Which
it's all clean.
to me that's what the nebula adds, is that it's like it's that extra layer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the scenery outside. I'm talking about the buildings.
Oh, okay, the inside.
The buildings themselves just need more
Okay.
than
Mm-hmm.
just what we have.
Yeah.
Sure, they look cool, but like I've seen that style 100 times in
It
every
worked for me.
video game.
For me it completely worked. I was every time they cut to like a shot of the Capitol planet, I was like, ooh, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
The throne room, like with the giant chandeliers hanging down, that was cool. I don't know. It looks more, the interior at least looks more palatial than like a Star Trek building does.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, the other big location we have is the center of the galaxy,
Hmm.
which starts out a lot smaller than I think any of us would have expected it to be. It's just like an asteroid, but then once they get inside, it's bigger. And then they go, there's like this weird thing of pink floating orbs that will shock people that they get through. And then they end up in this like chasm, and it's this room full of stars. It almost reminded me of the Disney Atlantis movie, sort of this like
Oh yeah.
underground cave area where like all of the power originates from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it's just like this room full of stars, and then we have the visualization of the music and Barbie dancing through the air with these stars. It's just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much enjoying that. Again, it's 2001 A Space Odyssey, but make it Barbie and slightly more coherent. Other thoughts on animation?
The lighting is beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Lighting is great. Designs are great. Everything's great, I think.
A lot
Which
of
is
great
why
stuff.
I gave it a bit of a rule breaking. 5.5 out of 5. It would be a 6 out of 5, but the teeth.
That is rule breaking.
It is rule breaking, but I think it is deserved for the creativity and the execution. Like I was saying before, like we don't have the concept art for this, but I would bet the concept art looks almost identical to the finished product just based on how much detail was put into everything.
Um, can I change mine to a 4?
Yes, you can change
Okay.
yours to a 4.
So I gave it a 4 out of 5, and I really liked the animation. Just it wasn't 100%. I've seen better animated movies, but it was great. I loved it.
I also did a slight change to mine. I originally had it at a 4, which I still think is really good because I rarely give it a 4, but one or two other films have had a 4, and so to give it the edge, 4.25.
Yeah,
Making it the
it's good.
highest rated animation thing I've given it, although I do prefer the character models in Princess Charm School.
Yeah, imagine Princess Charm School level character models with this level backgrounds for
Oh,
Barbie
Lord.
Starlight Adventure 2.
Amazing.
Like, yeah. Come on,
Amazing.
Netflix. You're doing these Barbie movies now. Pony up the money.
Uh,
Get Cliff Ruby
you,
and Alana Lesser back to write the story.
you did Arcane.
Yes.
Do that, but with Barbie.
They should do a Star Trek inspired thing where they go on and there's like, oh, we're gonna go visit this planet, and oh, something bad happens on the planet, and you have that very much
Yeah.
crew captain dynamic. I'd love that for Barbie. I could really see that happening. Where, they go
Does
down to a planet, and
does
so
the
yeah.
king have like no guards besides his robot?
Apparently not. Barbie kings are very anti-guard.
Mm-hmm.
This is a consistent thing with Barbie kings.
But like this one, very specifically, not a single guard.
Yeah.
There's the little Mo robot, like
Yeah.
Mo
Like
from
he's
Wally.
he's more of a butler. He has a little bow tie. He's a butler, not a guard.
But there's that little police one.
Eh,
Oh yeah, those. Yeah.
They reminded me of Mo.
mm,
Now, up next we have the voice acting.
mhm.
Erica Lindbeck is Barbie again.
Yeah.
I think she's settling into the role just fine. I think she
Mhm.
sounds like Barbie.
I don't, but I think her performance is great.
Sarah, what do you think? Does she sound like Barbie?
No.
Okay. I have been outvoted.
That's why you should have guests on the channel.
Yeah, no, the cast for this film is very interesting because I don't
Yeah.
recognize any of these people besides Erica Linebeck.
Now, I was seeing a trivia piece that this is the first Barbie movie to have no Canadian voice actors involved.
Yeah, so I also took a little bit more research into something. So up until Princess Power, they were using Voice Box Productions, which is where all these Canadian voice actors come from. And
Okay.
since then, they've been using Vita Spark Productions. I don't know where they're based in, but um, a lot of different names have been coming up. They have been hiring like other people, like Kathleen and Kazumi,
Yeah.
to like reprise certain characters and such. But like this is the first example of different people, and it kind of shows.
Yeah, it's a new roster of voices here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought everyone did good.
They
I
did good.
didn't really do much research into anyone specifically here. But yeah, I liked Robbie Damon plays Leo, and I thought he was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Dwight Schultz, I think,
Oh.
does a spectacular job as King Constantine,
Mm-hmm.
where it's almost a villain performance, but he holds back just enough to keep the performance from going over that line.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, like Sarah was saying with his character design,
Mhm.
where it's like he looks almost like a villain, but then it's like, oh no, he's not really the villain, even though he's the antagonist.
Yeah. His design also is somewhat inspired by like a Roman king. Like he even has like the Roman tassel on his head
Yeah,
with his little visor. Being
yeah,
his name is Constantine and all.
yep. It may be intentional.
Maybe.
So yeah, I gave the voice acting a 4 out of 5.
So did I.
Can I give it a 3?
Yes, you can give
You
it a
have
3.
convinced me. All right, I gave it a 3.
That's much better. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, I was feeling sad.
So yeah, last up we have the music.
Mm-hmm.
The score for me ranged from good to great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of electronica, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of not entirely unique for space, but Star Wars defined the sound of space for so long
Mhm.
that it does feel different.
I really like that it feels like the characters interact with the music. I
Yeah,
really like that. It's not just this thing that's going on the side. You'd see a lot when the music comes on, especially when they're singing it and stuff, that the characters really are interacting with it, and I really enjoyed that a lot. It's not just something that's kind of going on the side.
yeah. I think the way the sound design integrates the songs is at times a bit awkward, but I do like
Mm-hmm.
the way, because music is integral to Barbie's character since that's her powers.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that music plays such an important role. Yeah, the songs are pretty good overall. The original songs,
I don't really
they
love
aren't
them.
they don't have that timeless quality that Princess and the Pauper has,
Mm-hmm.
but I like them for what they were
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
The original songs were the only thing that are something I don't
Mm-hmm.
love in this film,
Yeah, I
especially
do.
in the beginning.
Yeah, the second song that they play is pretty poorly integrated, just in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
the way they
Mm-hmm.
mix the sound or
Yeah.
edit the sound or whatever the levels of the song versus the sound effects is, and it's not clear if Barbie is singing it or not. But I do like that they made this a musical, because how many space musicals are there ever? Like, that's
Not a
not a
whole lot,
genre we get much,
Mm-hmm.
and we need
but I don't
more.
think this really worked as great as a musical. It kind of forgets it's a musical by the end.
Yeah, it does forget it's a musical at times. But I don't know. I appreciate that they even tried. Yeah, but we really need to get Todd Chavez to bring his space rock opera thing to life.
All right, I guess that's a reference.
It is a reference.
No,
So
let's just give him a video game to play. I'll hide the receipt under the couch.
yeah,
That's a
hire
deeper
character
reference.
actress Margot Martindale to play.
Anyway,
So Next up we have, and I'm curious if any of you caught this, the original song that plays over the menu and the credits is called Firefly, and it features the one and only Lindsey Sterling,
Ooh.
the violin player from YouTube.
I sadly did not catch this because my main focus was like looking through the credits to find the voiceover production just to make sure that
Yeah.
this was a different production studio. But
Yeah,
it did
you
sound
should
nice.
listen to the song because if you like Lindsey Sterling, this is a good Lindsey Sterling song.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish it had been more than just an end credit song. Like, it could have been integrated into the movie in an interesting way. And it's who's singing this? Let me scroll up to the top. Jordan Kane is the one singing it, but it has violin by Lindsey Sterling. And it is the music video for it as well, is because it's using the visuals from the movie, so it's also really cool. So yeah, for that reason, I am giving this a 4.25 out of 5 for the Lindsey Sterling of it all. I feel like I need to for that single song. That's adding a few points there.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
I like
give
it.
it a 4.
It was
Yeah.
good.
Okay, so that brings my final score to a 22.25 out of 25, which is an 89% or a 4.45 on our 5-star scale.
Alright, I gave it. Is that a 20 out of what?
20 out of 25.
Okay, 20 out of 25. And that gives it a 80%. Exactly. Woo!
Yep. And a 4 on our 5-star scale.
Oh, yeah.
And mine is a 19.75, which is a 79% or 3.95 5-star rating.
Yeah. Now, as we have mentioned before, and this is the last episode we'll mention it for, we are not telling you where this ranks in our rankings because in a few episodes here, we are actually going to be doing our big ranking all of the Barbie movies episode. So you can look forward to hearing where this lands on that. But yeah, so suffice it to say, it lands rather high up. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Thoughts on Starlight Adventure before we go?
I thought it was great. I loved it. I would see it again and not complain.
Needed a longer run time.
Yeah.
Director's cut.
Yeah. we need that sequel. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. And we will be back next week to talk about a movie whose episode we haven't recorded yet, definitely, called Barbie and Her Sisters in a Puppy Chase.
Ooh.
Yeah. Are you intrigued,
Exciting.
John, by this movie we definitely haven't already seen?
It sounds like the most exciting story ever to be told. Can't wait.
I'm sure the plot will be just never-ending excitement, just new things around every corner.
It'll be number 1 for sure. It'll top Princess and the Pauper over there.
It'll be an actual plot.
Yeah. Not a series of unfortunate events repeating over and over again for an hour and 10 minutes. Definitely not that.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll see you then for an episode we definitely have not already recorded. Yesterday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.